In June 2010, Prem Rawat was invited to speak at a prestigious event at Parliament House in Brussels by Mr. Gianni Pittella, the first Vice President of the European Parliament. The State Secretary of the Union State of Russia and Belarus, Mr. Pavel Borodin, was also invited to speak in relation to his humanitarian efforts in Russia and Belarus. The Vice President introduced the guest of honor, Mr. Prem Rawat. In his introduction, Mr. Pittella spoke of the importance and value of peace for each individual, saying, "Prem Rawat describes peace as a fundamental necessity in every person's life. Peace is a well-established reality in every human being and is the founding element of any social relationship. This perspective, which puts the individual back at the center, is very much at home with the European culture and presents a real possibility for change." 350 guests attended the occasion, including a Russian delegation, members of parliament, officials and invited guests from all over Europe and the United States.
Mr. Vice President, Mr. State Secretary, honorable members of the European Parliament, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. You have heard a lot from both of our speakers, and I have a few things to say. They are very simple in nature. I am a person who believes that it's okay to talk about peace. It's good to talk about peace. It's better to feel it. It's okay to talk about human progress. It's better to actually have it. Long time ago, human beings showed a particular trait. And this trait was to better themselves. They could have been still living in caves, but a little more than that, to make something beautiful to live in. They could have been sleeping on trees. They could have been wearing still the leather clads. But there is a human trait to improve, to better ourselves. And in this spirit of bettering ourselves, not only externally, but there is a fundamental need to better ourselves from within. From our heart. Not only from our mind, but from our heart. Not only in ideas, but in reality. This is who we are. These are the genes, the ideas, the things that have shaped us to the point that we are today. One other thing. We have always been concerned about our future. As we long time ago transitioned from trees to caves, we wondered what will happen to us. And today, after all the changes that we see today, we still question our future. What will happen to us? There are people who say that Earth will be destroyed. And when we hear that, we feel concerned. It's natural. Right now, in the economic situation of the world, almost, There are people who are wondering what's going to happen to them. Wars continue.
Войны продолжаются.
Reasons are declared.
Разные причины для их поведения.
Justifications are thrown out.
Новые оправдания ведения этих войн.
Innocent women and children
А беззащитные
are
женщины
killed.
и дети умирают.
For what?
А почему? За что? Что они так делают?
For reasons,
Да?
for explanations,
Из-за каких-то объяснений.
for ideas, for ideals
Беззащитные люди,
that people have created.
которые создали люди же.
In my opinion, the ideal should be to have peace on this
Я
earth,
считаю, что идеал – это добиться мира на земле,
where people feel and celebrate having peace.
когда люди чувствуют, что мир есть, и радуются этому.
We talk about prosperity.
Мы говорим о щедрости, о
In my formula,
моем,
and this is only because I have observed it,
потому что я сам это видел.
prosperity without peace is chaos.
Благополучие без мира – это ничто,
Chaos.
просто хаос.
Everybody is wondering what is going on.
Все думают, что же происходит.
I mean, isn't just a few years ago everything was wonderful?
Когда ничего не было, кризис, все было здорово.
Everybody was proud. Yes, the economy, yes, the economy, yes, the economy. And then all of a sudden,
Успехами, а сейчас
prosperity without peace leads to chaos.
говорят, что благополучие без мира – это
If we want to avoid this chaos,
если мы хотим избежать хаоса,
then we have to work on what peace really is.
нам надо понять, что это такой мир.
That peace is not a monastery.
Мир – это не какой-то монстр.
That peace is not absence of noise. That peace is not absence of war.
Мир – это никогда нет войны, это не какой-то
Peace is not a declaration.
не какая-то декларация.
Peace is a fundamental human need that needs to be felt from within.
Мир – то, что можно почувствовать изнутри, это основополагающее.
And I'm paraphrasing the United Nations Charter,
Я перефразирую,
that it is in the minds of men, of human beings,
говорит, что
that the wars are created. That's where it comes from.
что войны не возникают на пустом месте, придумывают люди.
And I just want to add this much, that it is from the hearts of the human beings that peace will be created.
И именно из сердца должно быть понимание, что мир должен быть.
When there is a simple recognition of one another, that we may look different, that we may speak different,
Мы можем на разных языках говорить,
but we have the same fundamental needs
но у нас одни и те же потребности,
that we share
которые мы разделяем.
this place called planet Earth.
Планета Земля, где место, где мы живем.
Look at it.
Смотрите на нее.
One example that I like to use quite a bit
Я очень часто люблю один пример, который
is that a few years ago, quite a few years ago, the scientists wanted to search the space to make sure there was nobody else out there.
пытались космос исследовать, чтобы убедиться, что нет других цивилизаций.
So of course, they sent a probe with all the
Слава космических.
things from Earth. And they also installed antennas, giant farms of antennas to listen in the outer space
Должны слушать
for any signs.
звуки, есть ли какая-то
of
признак
life.
цивилизации другой.
Now, I'm not saying that there is no life out there. I don't know.
Я, конечно, не знаю, есть ли жизнь где-то еще или нет.
But I can tell you this. They have searched an awful lot of space.
Но они нашли
Millions and millions and millions and millions of miles of outer space.
просто пустое пространство.
And I have news for you. Guess what?
И я хочу вам сказать одну новость. Вы угадайте.
It's just us.
Это мы, это просто мы. Это пространство
Just
мы,
us.
только мы.
We need to understand the importance of getting to live along with each other,
Надо научиться жить вместе.
with each other's differences.
Со всеми различиями, которые есть между нами.
Everybody doesn't have to become just like me.
Не надо, чтобы все были такие, как
To welcome the differences,
различия.
to accept the differences,
Умение,
whether they be in culture
будь то культурные различия,
or be it in language.
языковые.
A lot of people say, all the big differences in language, but do you realize I speak 2 languages,
Я говорю на 2 языках.
and I know that what you say in English, you can say in Hindi.
Я знаю, что то, что говорить по-английски, можно и на хинди сказать. По сути, какая разница?
It's not any different. You just say it differently. It's different words, different voices are made,
Тоже.
but the meaning is exactly the same.
Но значение одно и то же.
Exactly the same. Not too long ago, my wife and I were blessed with a grandson, and he's just barely 5 months old. And he likes to talk.
Он любит говорить. Маленький внук.
Of course, he can't speak a word, but he likes
Он
to
не может
talk.
произнести, но ему так нравится говорить.
And he makes noises,
Он какие-то звуки издает.
but there is a way he communicates. And I was thinking about it last night.
Я прошлой ночью думал о том, что вот он,
It is the most powerful form of communication.
это самое важное, самое сильное возможность общаться, когда ребенок маленький еще не говоря, но уже какие-то.
When he is happy,
Когда он рад,
he
он
smiles.
улыбается.
Do you know who taught him that?
Знаете ли, кто научил его улыбаться? Конечно, нет.
Wasn't me. Wasn't his mama. Wasn't his daddy. Wasn't any instructions that he read. When you are happy, smile. We are part of a much greater world than we realize.
Мы часть гораздо более величественного мира, чем мы даже представляем себе.
Much more fundamental things are afoot here. And amongst those fundamental things is the need and desire for peace. So, like I said,
Основополагающие условия человеческого существования.
it is good to talk about peace. It's better to feel peace.
Надо чувствовать мир, а не говорить о нем.
It's good to talk about food, but it is better to eat food. It is okay to talk about water, but it is better to drink the water. So, people ask me, if you think peace is so simple, how come we don't have peace on this earth?
Легко говорить людям, а что же у нас тогда нет мира?
It's a very important question.
Это важный вопрос, почему же действительно так.
Because everybody has their own interpretation of what peace is.
Потому что каждый имеет собственное представление о том, что такое мир.
We don't recognize peace as universal as the sun.
Мы не имеем какого-то общего определения мира.
We don't recognize peace as fundamental
Непонятно, что это такое.
as water.
Нигде не записано, что мир так.
We don't recognize peace as essential as the air.
Что это так же важно, как воздух.
What we are busy doing, and this is another thing that as human beings we are very good at.
Но мы столько всего делаем, зато столько нас дел.
Whenever we can't find what we are searching for,
Мы так и не понимаем, зачем наша жизнь, что же мы ищем.
we immediately start defining it.
Мы уже пытаемся какие-то определения найти.
And our definitions are our expectations of what we are looking
Это
for.
наше ожидание того, что мы ищем. Не понимание, а ожидание.
When we cannot find God,
Когда мы не можем найти Бога,
we start defining God.
мы начинаем давать ему определение.
imagining what God will be. You don't have to imagine a mountain. It's there, you can see it, you can touch it, you can look at it, you can map it, you can get a GPS location of it. This is what happens. Because we don't have peace, we define peace. And everybody who can define has gotten on the bandwagon of definitions. So what do? We argue. Instead of coming together, we argue. What is peace? How will peace be? We fight with each other. Do you know? There has been a war going on amongst the people who love God for a longer period of time than you can imagine. And they all love one God. But they fight about their version of who God is. Are we doing the same thing with peace? Are we fracturing the necessity that we have in our lives for peace by giving it definitions? Or are we accepting the simple principles that peace is a real need and it will be felt not in thought but in the heart of every human being? Every human being, that has to be the target. There are people who give 5 reasons, 6 reasons, 7 reasons, 10 reasons of why there cannot be peace on this earth. I have 6.5 billion reasons why there should be peace on this earth. Not 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. This is the time when the nations need to come together. Because remember, it is those kings and those rulers in whose rule peace reigned that were considered the most successful rulers. And prosperity followed. It seems to me prosperity loves peace. Create peace, and prosperity seems to come right along and make its stage and dance for everyone concerned. These are not impossible dreams. These are realities that can be had. If we can make such a mess out of this earth, if we have that much power, then certainly we have enough power to bring peace on this earth too. Question remains whether it is something that we want to do or not, because peace begins with every one of you. When you look at a city at night, you see it lit up, a whole area that is lit up. But don't forget, it is individual bulbs that are actually in action, making that scene look the way it looks. Individual bulbs. It is individual human beings who need the peace. It is individual human beings in whom the desire resides. And it is on the individual human being stage that the peace needs to dance. Is it possible? This one doesn't require a prayer. This one requires an understanding. This one does not require a wish. This one requires determination. This one does not require definitions. This one requires clarity.
Нужна ясность.
That if we can go to the moon, it should certainly be possible to reach the shortest distance there is from one to one's heart.
Это залог сердца в другое.
From one to one's heart, and feel that joy that exists inside of us.
Это радость, которая в каждом из нас находится.
Determination, understanding, and clarity have to be the fundamental foundations on which this palace will be built.
На которых мы построим наш дворец мира.
Not exclusion, but inclusion.
Не исключение, а всеобщее объединение.
When our measurements are going to be for the similarity and not the differences, that is the day we begin to lay the foundation for peace in this world.
Тогда мир будет в мире.
Who will benefit? We will benefit.
Будет выигрыш, а мы будем
Our future generations will benefit.
поколение.
Their children and grandchildren will benefit.
Внуки, правнуки.
A place they can proudly call their own, not in terms of house,
Они могут весь мир назвать своим.
but as a citizen of this planet,
Это
Earth,
гражданин планеты Земля.
which unquestionably,
Абсолютно несомненно.
is the rarest thing around for miles and miles
Самое редкое
and miles
чувство.
and miles. I always find it a great honor
Для меня большая честь.
to be in the company of those people who are interested in
Которые
peace,
заинтересованы в этом.
because they forge the way ahead
Потому что они
to the possibilities of peace
создать мир
for everyone
для каждого
on this.
на этой земле.
It's been my great honor to be invited
Большая честь быть приглашенным сюда.
to the European Parliament, to have the pleasure to be able to say a few words about the peace.
Счастье.
I have a very, very strong feeling that if we really want to, this can be done.
Это первый.
It will not be one person. It is too easy to say one person will do it. No, it will be all of us. It is all our responsibilities, because it is all of us that need peace, not just our neighbor, all of us. Thank you very much, and may peace come one day to all of us. Thank you.
Prem Rawat is one of the most famous speakers in the world that you may never have heard of.
Our next guest is someone you do not want to miss out on.
I think you can see the joy, the pride in my face as I get to sit down with our next guest right now.
Let's bring you another story now that we hope will put a smile on your face and some inspiration.
We next turn to a man who is working to give us a way to find peace.
Recognized as an international ambassador of peace.
A just wonderful human being, Prem Rawat.
We are hanging out with a speaker, a vessel of peace.
Prem Rawat.
It's a pleasure to have this opportunity to address the Google audience.
It's fantastic having you here in Sri Lanka.
It's a huge pleasure to have Prem Rawat on the show this morning.
The New York Times best-selling author travels the world all year long, teaching people how to access inner peace and contentment. When did you start speaking about peace? How old were you?
I was 4 years old.
4.
4.
And would people listen to a 4-year-old?
Actually, they did. They did, because they couldn't believe a 4-year-old was talking about peace. I didn't have any idea of what this huge audience was or what these people were really there for. but I knew I wanted to talk about peace.
Over the past half-century, Rawat has traveled to every continent.
His global effort spans over 100 countries, bringing a practical message of hope, of happiness and peace to all.
Working with gangs, with schools, with individuals to promote peace and encourage personal fulfillment.
He has been featured in magazines and newspapers all over the world and set the world record for the largest attendance at a single lecture while speaking to over 375,000 people in Gaya, India.
He's received numerous awards, including the Brand Laureate International Hall of Fame Lifetime Achievement Award.
Thank you so much. I'm very touched by the whole ceremony today.
An award given to the likes of Nelson Mandela.
You have so sacrificially given your life and your all in promoting peace to the world.
But Rawat insists this is not about him. It's about you. It's about peace.
I've always wondered, how do you define the word peace? Because I think in some countries you'd say, well, we're talking about peace and stability, which means the absence of conflict. How do you describe the word peace?
Okay, after the talk, after the pointing of the fingers, after the political scene, after everything else, there's this thing called feeling. Okay, and that feeling reigns supreme. And when you feel peace, not talking about peace, but you feel peace in your life, that's the real peace.
Μιλάτε συνεχώς εδώ και 60 χρόνια για την ειρήνη. Μιλάτε για έναν εσωτερικό εαυτό που είναι διαφορετικός από τον εξωτερικό μας εαυτό. Δηλαδή άλλα δείχνουμε και άλλα είμαστε.
Yes, the external self is under constant change. The only thing it does is change, 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 change. And we try so hard for it not to change. And the internal self never changes.
We get lost in the world, we get lost in navigating and finding our way. And with everything happening and as adults, we end up probably losing the connection with self. So when we talk about know thyself, what's the starting point?
Somebody puts a definition of what peace is, and we start looking for that. Peace is something you will feel. It's like drinking water. Who can tell you when your thirst will be quenched? Will it take 1 glass? Will it take 2 glasses? Will it take half a glass? Will it take quarter of a glass? Will it take a sip? Whatever it is, you will know.
I'm honored and privileged to be sitting with you here one-on-one. Hundreds of thousands of people love you, appreciate you, and you've helped them through their journey of self-discovery. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
Your book is titled Hear Yourself. Why?
Because we do not understand the noise, the cacophony that's going on inside of us. There are so many voices at any given time inside a human being saying so many things to us. And to hear yourself, one way is to hear yourself, your quest, your request to yourself. And the other one is to hear yourself, all the noise that is going on between your ears.
I can ask you, people will say to you, yeah, but when I'm wealthy, when I have a plane, my own plane, when I have a Lamborghini, I'll be happy. I know that for a fact. What do you say to people like that?
You can have all of that, but first of all, you have to have peace. To me, it's like this. Imagine your Lamborghini, your Ferrari, your airplane to be zeros, and you are 1. If you place zeros in front of 1, 1 will remain 1, and you can have as many zeros as you want, and nothing happens. Take 1 and put that first, and then put a 0. Now you've got 10, and then you've got 100, and then you got 1,000, and you got 10,000 and 100,000. So which one do you put first? Wow. They're putting their ambitions first, but not themselves. I'm saying put yourself in first, and then your ambitions.
His foundation has provided millions of meals to the hungry in recognition that peace is not possible if you don't have the necessities of life.
Now, we know your foundation, has done some incredible work. We know you've got a cooperation agreement with the South African government to support schools. You've done so much work in education facilities to help young people's mental health and well-being. Tell us more about this.
It's been an incredible journey, making sure that things happen that need to happen. We have gone into the zones where people need the help the most.
Prem Rawat, I don't know if I can thank you enough for all the wisdom you've shared with us today, so thank you so much for that.
I think we can agree that we all needed to hear a little bit of positivity.
You have given me what I needed to hear this morning in a personal journey. I've been struggling to explain this world as it is now to my son when weighing up all the fear. But there is strength in the individual. He is the solution to that. I cannot wait to see the reaction on the people's faces as they get to connect with you and this movement.
You've brought a whole lot of peace, a lot of understanding for so many people, myself included, with this conversation.
It's been amazing meeting you. Wow.
Prem Rawat, thank you so much for joining our show.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.